Hi, my name is Teresa Silva Byers, and I am so excited to be cooking in pajamas again with Fruit of the Land and Baby Village. Today we'll be making one of my favorite cookie recipes, thumbprint cookies. This recipe always brings me back to holiday baking with my mom as a little girl. And you know, this holiday doesn't look like the holidays of the past. And I think the best way to keep the magic and the joy of the holiday season alive is to bring back those traditions that we cherish. And of course, what better tradition than some holiday baking? So for today's recipe, you only need a few things, some of which you probably already have in your pantry, and of course, some gourmet goodies from Fruit of the Land. Let's begin. For this recipe, you'll need half a cup of flour, half a cup of almond butter, and I'm using the Fruit of the Land all natural almond butter for this, a quarter cup of maple syrup, again, you can find that at Fruit of the Land. 1 tablespoon of coconut oil melted. We'll just use a pinch of salt. And naturally for thumbprint cookies, you need jam. So we'll be using this Kurt's Orchard's Fruit Melange jam for our filling. Go ahead and place all of your ingredients in a bowl that'll be big enough to hold them. So one thing to note with the natural almond butter is that sometimes you'll find that it starts to separate as it stays in your pantry. That's totally natural. All you have to do is give your bottle a good shake and it should combine the oils and the butter back together again. So a pinch of salt, quite simply, you mix. Now that the cookie dough is fully incorporated, we're going to go ahead and roll out our cookies. So I have a cookie sheet here and I've lined it with a silicone baking mat. Of course, if you don't have a silicone baking mat at home, then parchment paper will do the job as well. And it's quite simple to roll them out. So all you need is your trusty spoon, and you take a spoonful of the batter like so, and you place it in the palm of your hands like this, and you roll. And now you don't need a perfect ball because we'll be flattening these out to make the thumbprints, but you just want a sort of sphere-like shape. So once we have it all set, then we place it on our cookie tray and keep going until the tray is full. Now one thing you will notice is that the dough is pretty soft, and that's simply because of the naturally occurring oils in the nut butter. But don't worry, it'll give you a nice soft cookie as well, and it does firm up, of course, while you're baking it. Once you've rolled out all your dough onto your baking sheet, the fun really begins. I always loved this part as a kid, and that's when we make the indents for the jam. All you do is you take your thumb and you go in the center of the cookie and you press down. And don't be afraid to go deeper than you might think you need to go, because the cookies will expand as they bake. So you don't want to go so far down that you poke a hole right through, but you do want to make it deep enough that you have space to fill them with jam once they've baked. And with this, we're only going to fill them once they've cooled and not beforehand, because the jam will run out and we want the cookie to bake fully on the inside. Now these don't have eggs in them, so we're not concerned, or any dairy for that matter, we're not concerned about that cooking, but we do want the cookie to stay intact. So go ahead, get your thumb involved and press down, and if you see these little cracks are happening, you can always go ahead and fix them a little bit, but I always find they give a little bit of character and they give that homemade feel. Once you've created all of your thumbprints in your cookies, these will go into a preheated 350-degree oven for about 10 minutes or so. Now, this recipe creates a dozen cookies. If you are baking cookies and plan on doing little contactless delivery with some friends and family, then you can always scale up the recipe. So these cookies baked for about 12 minutes, and really baking time depends on the strength of your oven, so I definitely recommend checking them at the 10-minute mark. If you feel like they're too soft, leave them in a couple more minutes and then take them out. Don't worry if they're still a little soft to the touch when you take them out, because they will harden as they cool. Now you'll notice on some, there's some extra indents in the center, and that was because while they were baking, they expanded too much and there wasn't enough space to fill with jam properly. So if you find that that happens with your cookies, you take a spoon, you take the back of the spoon and you just gently press on the cookie, on the indent of the cookie. Once you've taken them out, you don't want to use your thumb because they're hot, so use the back of your spoon, expand the indent a little more for the jam, and then let them cool. So I transferred them to a wire rack 5 minutes out of the oven, and now I'll give them about another 5 to 10, it doesn't really matter at this point. Just want to make sure that they're extra cool before we put the jam in. Now that the cookies have fully cooled down, and that was about a 15 to 20 minute wait, it is time to fill them. So we're using the Kurtz Melange, and this one is cranberry, red cherry, and apple, and we're going to fill the cookies with it. So you take your spoon, you take a cookie, and you just dollop a spoonful inside. Spread it around like that, and you keep doing that again until all the cookies are filled. Like other steps in this recipe, if you have children at home, this again is a great way to get them involved in the kitchen. My favorite holiday memories come from being able to help my parents in the kitchen, and so you want to create those kind of special memories with them as well. And so this cookie, because it has a base of almond butter, you're going to get sort of like that PB&J feel with these, and super nostalgic. Again, they kind of melt in your mouth, and really just a real fun treat. Now, if you are planning on gifting these cookies, I do recommend lying them flat in a box and then taking layers of parchment paper or wax paper in between the cookies, because they will stick to one another. Like I said earlier, this jam, the almond butter that I used in this recipe, and the maple syrup, you can find all of those ingredients at Fruit of the Land. They make beautiful gifts on their own, and then of course in gift baskets and boxes. And for all of your holiday cooking and baking needs, whatever that looks like this year. So we filled all the cookies. Those with a keen eye will notice that I've only filled 11 and that there were 12 that went into the oven. I ate one, best part about baking. And so cookies are filled. Now if you want to take this up another level, you can melt a chocolate bar. I have a Fruit of the Land milk chocolate bar here. You can melt a bar like this and drizzle that on top if you wanted to add just a little bit of a chocolate flavor to it. There you have it, Thumbprint cookies. Easy, delicious recipe using ingredients you already have at home and some gourmet goodies from Fruit of the Land. My name is Teresa Silva Byers. Thank you for cooking in pajamas with me. And on behalf of Fruit of the Land, Bayview Village, and myself, we wish you a very happy holiday.